Greetings, and welcome to a profound exploration of one of American history's most enduring and bitter controversies. The Battle of the Little Bighorn is etched into our national consciousness as Custer's last stand, a symbol of heroic, doomed resistance. But this legend overshadows a far more complex and human drama that unfolded just miles away, where nearly half the regiment survived under a cloud of suspicion. At the center of this storm was Captain Frederick Benteen, a seasoned, respected officer whose actions that day have fueled a debate spanning nearly 150 years. Was he the cool-headed savior of hundreds of men, or did he, driven by a deep-seated animosity, allow his commanding officer to walk into annihilation? Join us as we dissect the layered personal rivalries, the ambiguous military orders, and the critical moments of decision. We'll weigh the evidence from the survivors and the historians to understand not just what happened, but why. So, prepare to question the myths. If you're ready for a deep dive into history's complexities, please like this video and subscribe to WinLink Deep Dive for more investigative storytelling. The roots of the Little Bighorn tragedy were sown nearly a decade before the first shot was fired. In January 1867, Captain Frederick Benteen, a capable and experienced officer with a strong sense of integrity, was assigned to the newly formed 7th Cavalry under the command of the brilliant but vainglorious Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer. From the outset, their personalities clashed. Benteen, a man of substance, viewed Custer as a reckless glory hunter, an impression that would only deepen with time. The fracture in their relationship became permanent following the Battle of the Washita in 1868. In the aftermath of the attack on Black Kettle's village, Major Joel Elliott and a detachment of troopers pursued a group of fleeing tribesmen and were cut off. Custer, despite knowing Elliott's precarious position, withdrew without attempting a rescue or even confirming his fate. Elliott's entire command was found days later, massacred. Benteen was horrified, viewing it not as a tragic misjudgment, but as a profound moral failure, a betrayal of the fundamental duty an officer owes his men. This outrage compelled Benteen to write a fiercely critical letter to a close friend, lambasting Custer's character and decisions. This private correspondence was, without his knowledge or consent, published in the St. Louis Democrat. A furious Custer assembled his officers and threatened to horsewhip the anonymous author. In a moment that defined his stubborn courage, Benteen rose and publicly claimed authorship, refusing to reveal the letter had been published against his will. He stood ready to duel Custer on the spot. Though Custer ultimately backed down, the incident cemented a mutual seething contempt that would simmer for the next 8 years. This toxic history was the backdrop on June 25, 1876, as the 7th Cavalry closed in on a massive Lakota and Cheyenne encampment along the Little Bighorn River. Confident and underestimating his enemy, Custer made the fateful decision to divide his already outnumbered regiment into 4 battalions. He gave Benteen command of 3 companies, H, D, and K, and orders to pitch into anything he might find to the left of the main column, a vague directive meant to prevent the village's escape. This mission, seen by some as a deliberate sidelining, sent Benteen on a frustrating scouting mission through broken bluffs and ravines, finding nothing. Meanwhile, Custer and Reno's columns proceeded toward the northern end of the village. As the scale of the encampment became terrifyingly clear, Custer knew he needed his entire force. Around 4 p.m., he dispatched trumpeter John Martin with a hastily scribbled note to Benteen. Benteen, come on, big village, be quick, bring packs. This message, a masterpiece of ambiguity, would become the core of the controversy. Did be quick mean come immediately with only your men? Or did bring packs mean wait for the slow ammunition mules and then come with everything? Each man in the coming years would interpret it to support their pre-existing beliefs about Benteen's character. Benteen, upon receiving the note, was in a dilemma. He had found no Indians to the south. The sounds of heavy firing from the north were now unmistakable. He moved forward, but critically, conformed to the letter of his orders regarding the packs, consolidating with the mule train and moving at its pace. His progress was not the desperate all-out charge some historians later argued was implied. His advance was halted not by the packs, but by the shocking sight of Major Reno's shattered battalion, retreating in a disorganized panic across the river and up into the bluffs. These men, bloodied and demoralized from a failed charge into the village, had been saved from total destruction only by a desperate fighting retreat. Reno, himself seemingly unhinged by the disaster, screamed at Benteen, "For God's sake, Benteen, halt your command and help me. I've lost half my men." Benteen now faced a command decision of unimaginable pressure. The immediate visible crisis was Reno's shattered command, on the verge of being overrun. The unknown was Custer's situation, though the volume of firing suggested a massive engagement. Benteen chose to stabilize the crisis before him. He deployed his companies to form a defensive perimeter on Reno Hill. It was here, around 5 p.m., that the pack train finally arrived, and with it, the reserve ammunition. As the officers convened, the debate was fierce. Captain Weir, convinced they must try to aid Custer, moved his company north against orders without support, only to be driven back by overwhelming numbers. What he saw from Weir Point confirmed their worst fears. The landscape to the north was swarming with thousands of warriors, now converging on their position. Custer's fight was over. Theirs was beginning. What followed was a day and a half of hellish siege. With Reno seemingly incapacitated by shock or drink, leadership fell to Frederick Benteen. It was here that the man shone. Displaying preternatural calm and offensive spirit, he rallied the demoralized troops, directed defense, and famously led a daring countercharge that recaptured a critical waterhole and temporarily scattered the indigenous forces. His courage and composure under fire were universally acknowledged by every surviving officer and trooper. In the aftermath, they signed a mass petition to the president urging Benteen's promotion, crediting him with their survival. General William Tecumseh Sherman praised his judicious and skillful conduct. Yet the question could never be silenced. Could he have saved Custer? Historians like Nathaniel Philbrick argue that given the sheer size of the village and the rout of Reno's larger battalion, any attempt by Benteen to plunge north would have simply led his three companies into the same maelstrom, resulting in the total destruction of the entire 7th Cavalry. Benteen's decision in this view was tactically sound, if brutally pragmatic. But another, more shadowy possibility persists. Could any soldier, no matter how professional, completely divorce himself from a decade of loathing? Did Benteen, receiving that urgent note, subconsciously allow the bring packs clause to take precedence over the be quick command, providing just enough delay to make a difference? It is the unanswerable question that transforms a military analysis into a timeless human drama. The story of Frederick Benteen is ultimately the story of every historical figure who must make an impossible choice with incomplete information, their judgment clouded by the past and weighed down by the future. He was both the hero who saved hundreds and the officer who may have, through inaction, sealed the fate of his rival. History rarely offers clean answers, only compelling questions. We want to know what you think. Hero, villain, or simply a man caught in an impossible situation? Let us know in the comments below. If this deep dive into history's gray areas captivated you, please support our efforts to bring you more content like this. Hit the like button, subscribe to WinLink Deep Dive, and tap the bell to never miss a story. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep questioning.